Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Heart of Windsor's roundtable discussion here at Biblioasis. The Heart of Windsor is a The Heart of Windsor is a radio show that is on CJAM on every Monday, and it is run by the Digital Journalism Studio 2 class at the University of Windsor. My name is Arya Carter.
And I'm Taylor Westenberg. We acted as upper year mentors this semester for the students in this class. We produced the radio show, and tonight we're going to start off with a little video kind of demonstrating what the class is all about and kind of their experience with this class. Then we'll have a couple of people come up and speak, and then the main event will begin. So we'll have 4 Windsorites come up and join one of our students to talk about the importance of the arts in Windsor and Windsor's contributions. And then the audience, you guys, will, after Chris has asked a couple of questions, you'll actually have the chance to ask a couple of questions yourself. So just keep your mind running. And then we'll invite the students of Studio 2 to come up. And if you have any questions for them, you can ask them as well. And then we'll end the night with lovely conversation and some refreshments and food over there. So without further ado, we'll start our video.
Hello, Detroit. You've won my heart. Your renaissance and waterfronts give you a flair of your own.
Hello and welcome to the Heart of Windsor, the pulse of the Windsor arts community.
I think for some wild, crazy reason, Windsor has always attracted fine artists in all the realms.
Well, I would say the arts are an essential component of running a vibrant and a healthy city. So we've focused a lot on arts, especially in the last 3 years, and even in the 8 years before that, there's been a great focus and attention to the arts in the city of Windsor. And I think that we're starting to see the fruits of all that labor happening now, including with the recent opening of the University of Windsor School of Creative Arts downtown. I think that will help even further jettison all of the work that's being done to see great things happen.
Really quickly, I found that it was a really inclusive community. People were really excited to have artists and creators remaining in the community. We've seen very much very changed community. Very dynamic community. It's growing amazingly quickly. And I think that as it grows and strengthens, it gains more and more momentum moving forward. And so it's a very unique story that's happening here.
We have slam poetry happening in our city. We've got dance, we've got music, all the arts are represented. So I'm pretty confident that that will continue.
Take people to things. That's been my war cry for the entirety of us being here. Get your ass out of your apartment, out of your comfort zone. Even if the show is in, if you're a student, go to a show in the West End. Go to something. Just go support people who are trying to share like this intimate thing with you. If it's visual art or if it's music or whatever, you gotta go to stuff.
This year, the Studio 2 journalism class created the Heart of Windsor, an arts radio show held at CJAM that allows us to talk to locals about the arts in Windsor, as well as showcase what is happening in the Windsor art scene. This class is run by Marty Gervais, who dreamed of an art show in Windsor.
I got this idea that maybe we could do a arts show. There is no arts show on the radio in Windsor. There's nothing like it. I mean, they cover the arts, but there's no arts show exclusive. And so I thought, could we do this? Can we pull this together? Instead of just covering the news, the general news, everyone's doing that. Why don't we cover the news about the arts in the community?
The class consisted of 4 students who took on new roles every 2 weeks and 2 student mentors. They were able to put together 5 shows and experience many different sides of journalism and radio.
Well, the first thing we would do is organize our interviews and interview our subjects, and then we moved on to the script and how we're gonna format and whatnot. So it'd be first week. It'd be 2 weeks for each show. The first one would be interviews and we'd interview 2 guests, and then the second week would be we produce a show, we record it, we get the B-roll, all that jazz, and then on Monday it goes up, and the online story comes out, and the video comes out, and then we're on to the next.
I like that every week we do something new. It's never the same thing. We only had to redo one role once, which isn't that bad actually. We each got to see the different aspects of creating a news story and how to get news out there. We got to do radio, video, social media. We each got to see what it was like to be at a different, to see different elements of creating and making a story.
Anyone can show up, but these students put the effort in and were able to take something valuable from this course. Clearly, it left an impact.
Learning the process of a radio show and really getting into the inner workings of it, of how you book the interview, when you schedule it, and then how you go through the editing process, and just seeing how it's done step by step has probably been the most rewarding thing.
I think a very good thing that I've taken out of this class as like a reward is networking. From like the first day of the class, we've had to like meet a lot of people.
Creating a show that mattered. Creating something that is new to Windsor now, because there wasn't one before. Being able to teach students and learn myself how to produce something. I think the most rewarding thing is not one thing, but of how much I've learned from this.
This course offers something different. It's hands-on, interactive, and gives you real-life experience.
Well, it puts you in the job situation. Other classes are just sitting around for a lecture, but you're given different jobs and different tastes of different things you could do in radio. And it's also giving me something I can put on my resume.
But for this class, like, I don't want to miss it. Like, even if I have to, it hurts.
But of course, not everything goes smoothly. This course had a couple of bumps along the way, but by working through it, we were able to get the job done.
It was making videos. I didn't realize that I had to get B-roll, I had to, you know, do the voiceover and stuff like that. So when I found that out, I was panicking. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it, but like you guys like helped me through it. So that was challenging, and I think with your help, I was able to get through it.
The amount of recording of myself I had to do, I hate the sound of my voice, stresses me out, but I just sucked it up and did it, and I got a sense of accomplishment every week.
These students took their challenges and learned something from them each week.
I think it's perseverance. We had to contact a lot of people for interviews, and the weekly deadline of the show going on really put a sense of urgency to it. So if you didn't get a response right away, there was really that pressure to keep going back, try and get the information or get the contact information.
How to get things done. Everything is very dependent on each other, where if you don't do your job, then the entire show can't really go on. Everyone's job depends on you getting it done. So, yeah, just learn how to get down to it.
He's definitely taught us how to ask questions really well, even if you're nervous or shy and you're interviewing somebody who's kind of intimidating. I think Marty's very brave and courageous. I think he's definitely an actual journalist who is not ashamed to, like, he does it for the news, he does it for the story. So I think we've all kind of learned how to become better journalists in this class because of Marty's teaching.
Covering the arts has been an inspirational journey that we are so glad and lucky to have been a part of. The arts in Windsor are important.
We turn to the arts not simply to be entertained, we should be entertained, but to feel better, to feel that we belong in this culture. So covering the arts is really basically trying to make sense of our chaos, make sense of our celebration.
Like I said, in Windsor, you almost have to do a little bit of digging to find the vibrant art scene. At least what I found last semester doing this. So I'm not sure how many Windsor residents have really done that digging. I'm not really sure how many students have done that digging. And maybe if they listen, they gain a bigger appreciation for not only the arts in Windsor, but maybe Windsor itself.
Windsor is a great place to be. It's great for art. It's great for everything. So we need to be more confident in ourselves as Windsorites that we're awesome and we have something great to show. Now go out and see a show, catch a concert, allow yourself to be immersed in a poetry reading, and see what Windsor has to offer. Thank you, Windsor, for opening your doors and sharing your art with us.
No, I love you guys.
we'd like to introduce the Assistant Dean of Interdisciplinary Graduate Studies, Faculty of Arts, Humanities, and Social Science, and Associate Professor of Department of Psychology, the University of Windsor. Big title, but we're really excited to have her come up and say a few words. Dr. Patty Fritz.
Actually, she took that very long first line right out of my script, so I'm really glad to not have to say that mouthful. I'm just going to start by saying, this is an honor really for me to be able to come up and be able to, first of all, hear this and see this. And actually, I gathered a little bit of information from the students who would be able to get that to me within a few days to kind of decide on what it was that I was going to say today. And I had not seen the video, and I have not worked intimately with them in terms of coming to the class or seeing what they've done. So it's very interesting to see just what I got from their comments, how well it actually maps onto the little video they just showed. So I feel like this might be a little bit repetitive. But again, I just want to say that I really do feel honored to be able to come today to welcome you all to this really amazing event. And I really thank Marty as well as the students for inviting me to be here. And I am going to start, this is sort of traditional in the university, by acknowledging that we are meeting on and that the work that we are celebrating tonight was created and carried out on traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of the First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwa, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi. I'd like to give that. I'd also really like to thank, although I guess maybe they're not behind me now, Biblioasis for hosting the event and for the gracious support that they are showing to our students. And we really appreciate the partnership that they have made with the class and with Marty. I would also obviously like to thank the esteemed artists who participated in the Heart of Windsor this semester, and for those of you who will be serving on the panel this evening. We are honored to learn about your work and the contributions that you make to both Windsor, right, and the Windsor art community, as well as the world at large. Of course, we can't leave today without really thinking about and acknowledging the extensive amount of hard work and time and effort and creativity that Marty and the students have really put into this project to make it the success that it is. The University of Windsor, and in particularly the Faculty of the Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, is really proud to recognize and to celebrate their achievements tonight. So I just have some really short remarks, I'll keep it short, but I wanted to highlight three key aspects of the work that we're celebrating tonight that seem to make it particularly outstanding. And I'm going to actually use the acronym ART in describing some of the great things that they've done in just a few weeks within our course. And I'm going to intertwine some of the quotes and or sentiments that I did receive from the students when I asked them to tell me a little bit about their experience within the course, which again you already saw highlighted a little bit in the video. So I'm going to start with A. So for A, I would like to really celebrate the authentic nature of the project. So according to the very influential source, Wikipedia, authenticity means the degree to which one is true to one's own personality, spirit, or character, despite external pressures. So obviously the work that the students created and produced most certainly does reflect their own personalities, their spirit, the character, all of that they brought to the project, as well as those of the artists that they featured on their radio shows and in their news stories. One amazing aspect of this course is that the students really were given the autonomy to, first of all, decide if this was going to be the project that they did, but they also got to decide which artists and the forms of art that they were going to feature, and what the final content would look and sound like. So one student indicated that throughout the course she had learned how to embrace her creative side. And so firstly, I would like to start by recognizing and applauding the personalized nature of the projects that they created and of the art really that they produced as well in this. Okay, for R, I'd like to celebrate the real life skills that the students acquired and that they further developed throughout the course. So in the words of one student, she said, "We were able to learn how to run and produce an entire radio show from scratch. Another beneficial aspect of the course has been how it puts you in the job position. If you don't meet a deadline, the show can't go up." So this course, which really is grounded in experiential learning, is an ideal exemplar for the Ministry of Education as well as the university's objective to provide students with more opportunities of learning by doing, to gain hands-on experience, and to interface with the community and the larger world. Not to mention the potential of maybe working or meeting people who could become future employers in the future as well. So I'd really like to say congratulations to the students for developing such applicable skills and for reaching out to and contributing to your community here in Windsor in such a meaningful way. And for T, I would like to celebrate the team-based natures of the projects carried out in the course. In the course, students learn to work effectively as a team across all the tasks that are required to produce a radio show, including generating and selecting topics to cover, determining who would be interviewed about each topic and how the topics would be featured, producing the show, and editing the final content. Moreover, this course also offered opportunities for developing leadership skills, in that the course was organized in such a way that more advanced students were mentors that were assisting Marty in supervising the students enrolled in the course. So in the words of one of the student mentors, she said, "One of the most beneficial aspects of the course has been leadership experience. Sometimes it's tough to be in a leader position, but it's so rewarding to be able to see your mentorees grow and shine in their own elements." So I thus commend Marty for his role in offering students the ability to express their authentic and creative initiatives, to gain real-life practical experience, and to enhance their interpersonal, team building, and leadership skills in such a stimulating and engaging way. And of course, I commend the students as well for their impressive performance in mastering these skills in only the matter of a few weeks, and for bringing attention to the arts here in Windsor in our local community. So in short, I enthusiastically welcome you to the celebration of our students and of the heart of Windsor. Thank you. I would love to stay, but my son has a basketball game in about 45 minutes, so I am going to just skip out. But please enjoy the evening, and thank you so much for coming and supporting our students.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank you, Patty, so much for your lovely words. And next, we'd like to invite Marty Gervais up to speak.
Tom, get out and do stuff. I think that's what it's all about, making art. Real life experience is what I think you guys have learned working with a team. But the one fundamental thing that I think is doing something important. And when I started teaching Collaborative Studio 2 in the digital journalism program, my goal was to go out into the community and do something important. And so in the past, we've made films about Ford City. We did films on poverty, on multiculturalism. We've gone into the community. We've looked at different issues. We've looked at important issues. And with a small group this year, we decided to do something a little bit different. And we decided to do a radio arts show, which doesn't really exist in this city. And I think we're making a difference. And that's what I like to do at the university. That's what I like to teach. I teach an editing and a publishing course. And I noticed some students from that course here tonight. And we're going to be launching books next week in that course. And again, it's going into the community and making a difference and making art. And I think, kudos to all the students who were involved in this year. I think the film says a lot about teamwork, says a lot about how difficult some of the tasks were. When it comes to interviewing, one of the very key elements in interviewing is stay away from abstract questions. Get down to the basics and ask real life questions. And keep those questions short. And they learned that. We would look at the questions before, the interviewees would arrive, and we would say, what the hell does that mean? And you know, they asked me a question about social justice. Are we talking about the homeless? You know, what are we talking about when we're talking about social justice? And be bold and ask the right questions and ask good questions. And that's something that's fundamental to journalism, that's fundamental to whatever they're going to do in life. So to me, it was a real joy working with all of the students. I learned so much, you know, just from watching Taylor and Aria, you know, producing this show. I stood back and I thought, you know, they're amazing. They're amazing in what they brought to the show. But I was also really surprised by some of the students when they had to get behind the microphone and host the show. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how, you know, are they going to completely screw this up or what? Christopher, you know, amazing voice. And he was in a class of mine, I don't know, a year or two ago, and I didn't think that he had that great of a voice then, but I don't know, maybe you suddenly hit puberty. All of you, you know, I'm not going to go one by one, but all of you did some great things. So, and I really appreciate it. And now I'm just going to sit back and listen to our panel. So, thanks very much.
So first, I would like to introduce Chris Zorbis. He's a student in the class, and he will be hosting this event.
Next, we'd like to introduce Ann Mulhern, who is a local author whose most recent book, All the Worlds Between, will be out next week. Yes, so you can come up and take a seat. Thank you.
Next, we would like to introduce Alicia Plummer. She is a student at the University of Windsor, and she's in the University Players production. She was in Jane Eyre, and she was just in Love and Human Remains.
Next, we'd like to introduce Allison Brown, a local singer-songwriter who, among many other things, also happens to host Border City Roots on CJAM 99.1 as well as us. So if you come take a seat.
And finally, we'd like to introduce Tom, sitting right over here. He is part owner of Fog Lounge, a local bar that hosts various artists and is just overall a great place to attend.
Take it away, Chris.
So first off, I'd just like to thank you guys all for joining us. Appreciate it, and I'm excited to talk to all of you guys. I kind of said it in the video, you have to do a little bit of digging. This was my second year in Windsor, and this was my first year really looking at the arts and doing any sort of journalistic work on the arts. And I found that there was such a vibrant art community in Windsor, but I'm wondering, in your guys' experience, how widely known is Windsor as an arts community outside of southwestern Ontario? We can start with you, or whoever wants to talk to me, just go ahead.
I don't think it is. I think one of those we were discussing earlier, like I speak to mostly about bands that host like authors and people who should get out of town, bring their their show, their talent somewhere. Sometimes it's visual art, but I talked to someone the other day who said I had no idea living outside of Windsor what this would be like. A couple of bar owners from Toronto came into the bar last night, young guys, and they were stunned, like, because their friend is deeply involved in the arts and gave them some places to go, and they were like, wow, I had no idea. And this was the woman who sent them out was like a big Windsor arts and culture cheerleader, but had to have that one-on-one with them in the city, give them a list of places to go, and I don't know the reason for that. I mean, I think when you have conduits to other communities and you say good things, or you just are a good representative, people are like, it must be like pretty sweet down there. And I know that there's not enough in terms of music. One of them is here. Two people that I know that tour, of the plethora of bands that don't, or artists that are here, like most people don't leave town. They get a job even if they're young. It's like, I'm not leaving for a month, I'll get fired. And it's true. Like if you're in a band and it doesn't matter how creative, I mean, your weekends are your weekends. You might have family things you got to stay around for. But I don't know. I wish that there was more representation of Windsor creativity outside of the city. And I think that plays a big role, like of people not knowing. Yeah, people know about Detroit, but I don't know that they know. There's certain people, again, advocates who will move away. And in that circle, they educate a circle, but it's only, so much if they move back home. And then, you know what I mean? You can't have like some super Windsor advocate in every city and hamlet and town. You know what I mean? You have to have people kind of running out.
And I have gone out of the city with my work. Last year I was invited to the Aurora Arts Festival, and I was the only poet invited. And I just couldn't get over the response. No one had ever heard this work before. And people lined up with 5 of my books. Now that just doesn't ordinarily happen. So, they said, you're from Windsor. Well, tell us what that's about. In May, I'm going to Cambridge. I'm going to read in Cambridge. I'm so convinced that we have to break new ground as artists. I'm from Windsor, but I'm convinced I have to break new ground and going to these different places. And certainly with Marty has invited me to readings in Toronto, and I've gone out west and that type of thing. But I think that more people need to hear Windsor artists and to see Windsor artists and to see the product, because it's great. It's really terrific. And people go, oh, you're from Windsor? Oh, gee, really? Yeah, really.
Yeah. It's a widely unknown place. Like, I'll never forget this. I went to there's a folk festival conference that happens every year, and I had been going to it, year after year. And one year they made this map with all the folk festivals listed in Ontario, and the map literally cut off after London. There was nothing. It was like an abyss. So that's how, unpresent I believe that Southwestern Ontario has been in the past. I think it's changing a lot with a lot of new things that have come up in our region. But again, that interconnectivity of artists and musicians and theater people and creatives, the connection that we have is we're all sort of passing each other by on the highway. It's great because we're all talking to each other, and it ripples through the rest of the community as well. Like I can go to Hamilton and I know where I want to have breakfast because the guy whose couch I slept on, they recommended it last time I was there, and I can tell the next person. It's all that kind of stuff. It's like really that interconnectivity, and there's lots of things that you can do if you are an art supporter. And let's say you can't take that risk of going on the road yourself. Like there's tons of things you can do at home to kind of make that interconnectivity happen. You can host a house concert, you can have somebody crash in your basement while they're on tour, you can set up a show with someone from out of town and help them promote it and that kind of thing. So there's lots of things that you can do to kind of support what Windsor's doing and support people who are coming through town on your way to maybe getting out of town yourself.
So I guess the next question then, if Windsor's not that well known as an arts community outside of Southwestern Ontario, what do we need to do to promote these arts, to get the name out there, to get the word out there?
For me personally, I'm within the school area in the theater realm, and I also find it hard to reach out to even friends on campus to come see a show at university players. And I think honestly it's more so advertising online because everything's more internet now. And inviting people in as if it's not just art, just inviting people in as friends, having fun, it's entertainment, it's a hangout. It doesn't have to be like, oh, we're going to see a show, or we're going to read going to a poetry reading, or it can just be more so an invitation to new things rather than this is art, we're seeing art, we're viewing art, if that makes sense.
I don't know, I was thinking about that first question. I don't know about if it's that important.
Okay.
It's important, if we are a really strong area for ourselves, if we are self-sustaining and we actually have the support. I don't know how important that is. I think that work can speak for itself, especially because of the internet. I still do believe, I'm just playing devil's advocate, like Is it that important, or is it more important to focus on educating people here about what's in their backyard? I mean, in 14 years of owning a business, I've seen so many things recreated, money like respent and respent and respent, sometimes administratively, sometimes entrepreneurially on this. And it's like, this is done. This is already done. This is happening. It's good. Just go. Take that money and like do something else with it. Like put it in people's hands so they can go and experience things that are already really good. So I don't know. I like the idea of sharing the talent elsewhere. You go somewhere else and are a good representative, then you might lure other talent to come and share in your community, right? I mean, these poets laureate coming and all these, people coming, it's because you're going out. I'm assuming it's because you're out and active and like you draw those people here. So I think that type of thing is important for that. But I have this local venue, so I focus locally on educating people, and I don't know how you guys feel about it.
What's the key to educating people in Windsor about Windsor art scene? Because being a student on campus for 2 years here, if I hadn't done this show with Marty, I wouldn't be talking to any of you. I wouldn't want to go see. I wouldn't now want to go see a show at FAHSS.
Yeah, that drives me crazy. As soon as you said that in like earlier, and I'm like, I can't drop that in my head.
So
how did they not know? There's so many posters that I get by law enforcement officers giving me crap about posters that are up somewhere that I didn't even put up. It's like, they saw them. Someone complained. I don't know. I have lots to say about promotion. I talked a lot, but I'd rather hear what you guys have worked for you.
What do you guys? What do we need to do to get the word out about the Windsor art scene in Windsor? Because it's vibrant, but like I said, you have to do a little bit of digging almost to get there. So how do we eliminate that digging?
Well, I had the chance to visit Austin, Texas a few years ago, and I loved it. It was awesome. And everybody's always raving about how it's a music city and it's got this great, vibrant music scene, which is 100% true. Like, the musicians that you will see there are world class and amazing. But it's also, every person that I talked to in that audience, they weren't musicians. They were IT people. They were working in the healthcare industry. They were working in other avenues. I mean, some of them were artists and creatives and writers and jewelry makers and that kind of stuff too, but there was a whole other community that was totally supporting the scene that was going on. So I think, in a lot of mid-sized towns, we're kind of speaking to our own choir sometimes, like we're playing for ourselves and we're playing for each other. So I think the best way is to invite those people that that aren't in that scene yet, and just invite them to some stuff and bring them along, and just bring a person who's never been to a concert. It's amazing how many people don't go to concerts. Like, they'll go and see like Crosby, Stills and Nash, and that's a concert, right? But you can see great music for like $20, and it's $5. It's true.
Free.
Yeah, of all genres that you can think of, like, most times through the year. So, there's a lot of difference between people's perceptions of what, I know we're talking a lot about music, but I'm sure this translates to the theater and the literary and other visual art type communities as well. Like, you don't have to, it doesn't always have to be that huge ticket arena show. Like, there's more to live music than just that. So
well, I would say, what's your opinion about how do you convince people that, because for me, someone, you guys asked this question, what's the biggest act that's played your place? And it's like, yeah, a guy who has scored Oscar-nominated movies was up for an Oscar. This guy has played Fog 6-7 times. Like, the idea of really convincing people that you could see the next Oscar movie scored, musician in this divey, dumpy bar downtown being yelled at by the parking lot guy, and that you'll pay $50 to see him in 8 years in Detroit, but you're going to pay toll. Like, it's like an adventure because we went to another country, and that's gives it value. I don't know. I think that's a huge part of educating people about what the people start everywhere. They got to start somewhere, and they, and I think it's readings, it's whatever it is across our platforms. I don't know if I'm way off there, but I think educating people to have to give value to the thing in their backyard. I think that might be systemic. That might be a thing that happens everywhere, but it's really prevalent here.
Can I join the conversation?
Go ahead.
So I would like to build on what Tom is saying. I'm Kathy. And I would like to suggest that I think the conversation has really changed in our community in the last 5 years, so that we're seeing a lot more crossover and supporting of each other.
Oh, yeah.
So you're finding poetry happening in the bar. You're finding like dance happening in a traditional theater space. And I think the more often that happens, and the more the audiences cross over, that's just going to keep building in the way that you're speaking, and keep moving forward on that educational piece. And I think one of the joys of Windsor is that there are amazing artists working here in every single genre and more. I was having a conversation with someone of the province in December, having an argument about opera being a vibrant art form in Windsor. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, let me name some names, okay? So, when I got to 6, they're like, okay, we get the point. But, and that is the point. Like, we can afford to live here. We're doing amazing things. And the more we talk about it, wherever we are, the more it all builds up together. So I think it's sort of tying into what Allison is saying, what you're saying. It's just, I think the momentum that is there, that as a community, we're working together to move everything forward.
But do you guys find that it's easier or harder to get to university players or to readings? I find the scene is the strongest it's been in ages. I say this to people constantly. It's like they have earlier shows. I'm like, you're not gonna go. And then I have an earlier show and it's busy. I'm like, okay, I'm wrong. I'll do another early show. It's busy. I'll do another early show. It's busy. Like, I had to drop some of my, preconceived notions. So I don't know if it's difficult for you guys, because I'm seeing a lot of people participating lately. A lot more, just more diverse, a lot of different styles of things, people being braver in the last 3 years, I would say.
And I think the artists need to spread the word, and I'm finding, I live in a high rise, and I get it out there about the poetry readings, and people are coming to poetry readings that never went to a poetry reading, and they'll tell me that. They say, I never went to it, but I liked it. I enjoyed it because I like the stories.
Good snacks.
Yeah, and the some people that have just never been to these things are a little hesitant maybe to go to the university players. Just say, look, I saw Jane Eyre and I saw the Blood and Human Remains. Powerful, powerful place. You'd have to go to New York to see plays like that. But here it is in Windsor. So we just have a treasure, a lot of treasure here. And I think the artists themselves need to get that word out. And we can in just your own little group. And I can in just my high rise. 300 people. Well, 300 people? Good.
Are you yelling off the balcony?
Something like that. Something like that.
So, what about the city? How important is it for a city to spend money on the arts? And especially in Windsor right now.
Very important.
Okay.
I want to elaborate, but the words aren't coming to me right now.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. What about you guys? What do you guys think about how important it is for the city to foster the arts?
I think it's major. I think it's absolutely major. Without money behind it, it just doesn't work. They always say follow the money. Well, follow the money to the theater, to the poetry reading, to the art gallery, to the bookstore, to Biblioasis, whatever. But money matters with the arts.
I think it's a good investment for the city to make. Like, look at London, they're getting the Junos next year. I'm sure they had to do some work on that, and it's a great opportunity for them. There's no reason why that couldn't be us soon, and hosting these kinds of conferences that bring a lot of arts communities together. That would be a cool thing to see here in Windsor. Also with different spaces coming available, and I think any way that the city can make an investment in the arts in our region is really important, because a lot of, myself working as an artist, I sing and play guitar, I do my own gigs, but I've also started managing a choir group in town. I do freelance writing for other artists and musicians. I might be taking on a job working for the Harrow newspaper, and I'm still living with my parents. So, that's kind of, if the city can create a framework for artists to be able to diversify their income in ways that they can still sustain and have enough time to work on their main artistic direction, then that would be a good thing too.
The thing about London getting the Junos, it's like in the cultural community, we don't have a lot of great things to say about London, but they go to stuff.
They have been more
like if you have the Junos, well, who will
Yep.
go? Well, look at all the shows that happen at these venues. Like, name a band from London. It ain't gonna happen. It's pretty rare. When they do come, they're pretty, good, but they're an hour and a half away. And I would say London is the least represented city for touring acts that come into this city in Ontario. Like Ajax sends more bands than London. I'm not kidding. Mono Mills, Ontario, will send more than London. But they're getting the Junos because they go to stuff. They're a white collar city. They have a bit more money to spend on tickets. Yeah, I mean, I'm not blind to that. But in terms of, you're saying like actual funding, my opinion about funding, right now there's like, 2 rounds of 50 grand roughly going out to people. So I have strong opinions about that. But I, personally, in the position that I'm in right now, as a bar, your stuff can break down. You have to have a bit of money there for the thing that breaks down, which always breaks down. And when it doesn't, what I recently decided to do, I told you guys in that interview, is if you're a band and you play our place, or you just have a reputation of having people come out to your shows, I will give you a no interest loan to make a record. It's only happened 4 times. Because I know you're going to bring that back in at the door, and with the record you make, I've seen too many things go in the can and then not happen. Band breaks up, whatever. And that is like a thing I thought was super clever, and it's not. It's happened at the Cameron House in Toronto, and I want to know about more places that do it because they do it more involved. Mine is like no paperwork, no contract. I write a check. The stub is in my book. I know what I gave you. That you owe me that. And the record comes out. Play at my place. I'd love to have the release at my place. But that is this micro funding that doesn't need red tape, and I don't have to write a letter for a band to get it. I already know you're, worthy. And the thing is, I want to move into other stuff, whether it's book publishing. I'm totally behind doing a thing like that because I have confidence in the arts community right now. I feel like they will support it. But yeah, the other funding stuff, I know it's important. I'm just saying that I'm on this grassroots ground level, and I see the opportunity for those types of helping that way. It's not like a GoFundMe or people microfunding.
Support.
It's kind of like microfunding, but it's me choosing because I know I see people at the shows because I'm there, and I know they have the support. I can pay for that record and see those people make that money back and make money on it, and I don't need points on that cash. Whereas the city funding or other funding, I feel like there's a lot of people dissuaded from it because they might not have strong language skills. They don't they don't want to type all this stuff up and maybe they're introverted. What if it's visual art? A lot of visual artists I know are not out there. So for them to go and find someone to advocate for them in a letter, say that you want that money, say you are deserving of that money, it's harder. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's harder. So maybe there needs to be something else in place to help. I feel like a hassle. So I don't know how to make that better. I'm not necessarily totally criticizing it. I just know that those are the holes in it. So I try to do what I can on that small level. I wish more people could do that, but I don't know. Funding's important, but I don't know how to make it more accessible.
Kathy, I know you're not on the panel, but
That's
you're
okay.
in the arts and culture. Do you have anything to say about that question? How the city fosters the arts?
Well, I think it's multifaceted, and getting money to the artists is important, but providing an environment that can enhance opportunities is important too. So, having the symphony in the Capitol, that's amazing. The city owns the Capitol Theater. The symphony rents the space to other artists. The symphony keeps that rent. So that becomes part of the money that they can then use to pay their own musicians, to work with community groups to do amazing work in that space at a reduced cost, right? That gives the symphony ability to put in other things. So you go, oh, well, that's not really the city. Well, it is the city because the city's given the symphony
indirect, yeah,
a place that they pay no money. We pay the electricity, we pay to have the bathrooms cleaned. The symphony thrives there. Or please thrive, right? And everybody else can benefit from that too. Whether it's artists that are working on the second floor in small space, that's one example. The art gallery is another space. The city owns the building. The art gallery has 2 floors and is doing amazing work now. And having the safety of not having to come up with all the small repairs that Tom knows, the leaky roof, the this, the that, right? That gives them freedom to do all these other things, which the art galleries are reflecting more on the community as well, and they're finding more nooks and crannies that they can put local artists into hallway venues, into other spaces that in the past they couldn't do it because they had to have revenue coming from that space. So there's lots of indirect things that the city is doing that people maybe forget that we're doing. Funding, I put forward the last 2 budget rounds to have an increase in funding. We really need artists to tell the councillors that this program is really important. It's giving artists...
How would that happen?
Every time
Just
you
like
log
a
in,
letter, yeah, just a letter.
Send them a letter to clerk saying, oh, I wrote 3 letters of support in the last round of our, this is really important, you need to increase this funding. Every year I put a report to them saying, we had a request that asked for $158,000, and that if all those projects that went forward, it would have been an investment of $500,000 in this community, right? And that they need to think of it in economic terms because they're a council, right? And whereas from us, from the cultural side, we're looking at it as all these new opportunities people have. So council needs to hear, this is really important. You know, you're gonna fill half a pothole with the amount of money that you would have spent on extending this program.
How much fewer money, do you know how much less money is in that arts budget than it was about 10 years? I remember when they divested like $700,000 from the art gallery or the that money never came back, and there was a big divestment a long time ago, and it never came back. It just was like, we don't need that now. They restructured how those groups worked, and they just worked at a deficit, or
well,
they worked less.
It's not really that it's
It's
more
I don't know if it was
complicated.
10 years ago or 12 years ago.
No, it
or
wasn't
5
that.
years
No,
ago?
it was 5 years ago and less. But the money we spend on their buildings is more than the grant money that we used to give them. So if you actually look at the numbers, we're actually paying more, we the city, not me. So it's how you look at the numbers.
Right.
Alicia, I want to direct first, I guess a more direct question, and then I'll open up to the rest of you guys because I want to find out about campus.
Okay.
How is the art scene on campus? Is it healthy? Is it thriving? As someone who performs, what's your take on the art scene on campus?
I feel like on campus it's very, it's in its own section. For example, I'm within the theater world, and I know a lot about what's happening with university players and what's happening on campus within the Jackman building, which is the dramatic art building. But I'm not sure what like the visual art students are doing, my roommate, he is in communication and film, so I'm kind of aware of what's happening within the film area, but not really. Everyone's basically doing their own thing, and someone brought it up earlier that, sorry, your name again?
Allison.
Allison brought it up earlier that we're kind of passing each other by, and I feel a sense of that even within school, and it'd be nice to be able to do something all together with the art students, but I don't think that that hasn't popped up yet for me. So we're all working really hard and doing our own thing, and I'll see things posted from friends online, and I'll be like, oh, that's great, but I guess I'm also in the fault when I don't support their thing. I'll be like, well, you should come see my show, and they'll say you should come see my thing, and then we're just standing apart, waving to each other and supporting from afar. So I would love to moral support. But moving forward, I'm realizing now that I also should be supporting my friends and the community within the arts on campus.
Now, my question for the wider panel is, how have the arts in Windsor evolved since you guys have been here? I know, Tom, you were saying they're stronger than they've ever been. So how have they evolved, and where do you see them going, is what I'm asking.
I would put forward that I've seen 3-year cycles. That's the thing that I've noticed being, and that can be different downtown than it is at Arts Council here in Walkerville or wherever, but or even in Mackenzie Hall at the gallery there. I mean, it's really weird, but I think it has school cycles attached to it. It's not like my place is full of students. I tried to tell someone the other day, like, oh, how do you keep up with those kids? I'm like, there's 25, 60-year-olds there, like, Wednesday night at 2 in the morning. What are you talking about? Wednesday is wild. Led Zeppelin concert at the casino, or at the Capitol last night. That was wow. Yeah, people who went to that, they partied. But it was like, they're older. There's all ages, and I don't know, like, I'd like to hear other people's take on that, because as it's getting better, it still has the cycles of people having families. Oh, kids, bang, done. They're done for 2 years at least before they start to dip their toe back in, based on babysitters and whatever. I have 3 kids, like I'm totally sympathetic to the reasons people can't do it. But about every 3 years, you get this change. It's like, oh, these are new people. But I also, who was I talking to about this today? The core, like the anchors, bedrock, people who are from here. You're staying put. Like there's people who are here a lot. They're invested with family, with mortgages, with leases on spaces. They have a real big responsibility to recognize those cycles and like make sure that there's another one coming in, right? Like, I feel that way. I feel like I've started to pay attention to those things. I don't know how long you've been performing in town to notice whether there's a flow, but sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Right now it's really good. But I do see it happening in that weird cycle in a good way. Like right now I'm not complaining, but I think if we do something specific recognizing that, it'd be better for everybody.
I can only speak to the editing, publishing, writing realm of the arts, even though I'm incredibly interested in all of the other aspects of the arts. But I came to Windsor in the 70s, and I gradually kind of keyed into the arts in this incredible community. And fortunately, through Marty Gervais at the University of Windsor, I've had 6 books published. The 7th one is coming out. But Marty has an incredible editing publishing class there. And I think that that's brought attention to editing publishing in this city. And other cities are kind of, I think, a little bit jealous that we have such a vibrant community in writing in this city. Biblioasis certainly promotes.
Yeah. This is awesome. This is my first time here, and I can't believe it. It's awesome.
It's amazing. It is amazing, yes. And they just do so much in terms of promoting writers and poets and authors and bringing people into this wonderful space that has so much history. So I think that there's some exciting new things happening in the city that they're just not happening in other cities. And so, like, I talked to other writers and other poets, and I don't think they have this kind of support that we have here. And so I love Windsor. Glad I'm here.
I'll ask this one final question, and I'll open up to the audience for questions. And if you could change one thing about the art scene in Windsor, if you could take it and remodel it, what would you change about it?
I would really like it to be more diverse, I think, personally.
What do you mean by that?
More ethnic people on stage specifically, or doesn't have to be just in theater. It could be throughout the arts in general, because I think that would open it up to a broader audience in a sense. And that's one thing I really was hoping for during my university player season, and the university player seasons to come, which is the University of Windsor. Yeah, so I hope for more diversity, because I think that will just broaden the spectrum of especially students who would like to come see the shows. If they can see representation of themselves on stage, that will fill seats and get the conversation started about theater and what can theater do for you and how it affects you and things like that.
Change something about the Windsor art scene?
What would I change? There's really just one thing that kind of comes to my mind. I get asked by a lot of my friends who are from out of town, who are songwriters, who put on really intimate type concerts. I would want more listening space venues. I love bars, Tom. I love your bar. Don't get me wrong. I do love doing a great bar show where it's really rocking and everything, but I also love like a totally quiet audience that's actually listening to the songs that I've put so much effort into crafting. So I would like to see some more listening type venues available for songwriters, I guess.
Tom, what about yourself? If you could change something about Windsor, the art scene in Windsor, what would you change?
Oh boy. Like I said, I'm so happy with how things have been, so it's hard to go like, start over. But I think that like, yeah, in general, like the not the malaise, just the knee jerk of most people, my family included, like to just go home, lay down, and stop, and rather than let's just go do a thing. Like, life is short. Let's just go out and do something once a week. Holy God. Like, oh, I'm going to be tired tomorrow if I don't get that extra hour of sleep. Like, you're going to be out in front of the TV till 10 anyway. So you're going to 11. You saw something you've never seen. You enjoyed something local. Hopefully you had a good experience. You know, I'm talking about an art show. I'm talking about a reading. I'm talking about not just... I'm very conscious of what is happening throughout the city. But I would love to see more people being convinced to do that. And personally, like, we talked earlier about the one thing, the one message, and then you said it, so I was like, oh, is that your message? Well, in that video, the show up, bring someone, there was like one of these kinds of panel nights 10 years ago, and I said something like that almost jokingly, but I'm like, you have to take someone physically by the hand. We're doing this right now. Like, do you want to go? I don't know. It's like, go there. I know you're not doing anything. I know your schedule. Like, you cut the grass yesterday. You got, maybe you got laundry. That can wait. I know you just ate dinner. We're going to this thing that I like, and you like me, and I think you might like this thing, whether it's a play. Like, my mom like doesn't ask. She buys you tickets to the university players. Happy birthday! Oh. I guess I'm going. But like, those are good ways to and like make people participate in stuff. But nothing else. I don't know, because I'm not an artist. I have no skill and like no talent to share in that regard. I don't. But I do know how to cheerlead. I know how to recognize talent, and there's such a glut of it here, and how to get people to go. Like, just I would change making people be a little more open to the idea, despite their circumstances, to make time for that. But you have to. It's not on them. I honestly don't ever. Oh, they're sitting at home, lazy suburbanites. No, like that's their routine. Someone else who knows. It's our responsibility to like break that routine, to introduce someone to something cool, like books. Like, how many times you read a book someone recommended it to you? Every time. The radio, you listen to things, this is really good. Oh, I'll check it out. Like, it's always based on that. So I don't know. We're really like in Windsor. I don't know if it's different in other cities. I'd have to ask artists, like if they do it. But like, we're going. We're gonna go. Yeah. It makes a massive difference. And when I've seen it happen, it's great. And that would be like if everybody did it once, like in a year, like all the people that are tight in the scene make sure they bring someone they would never, would make the time or would always have an excuse. Like, there'd be a massive, like you'd notice big time.
Going back to my trip to Austin, which changed a lot of my perspective, is that it was part of the culture.
Yeah.
Like, every person, after working at their computer programming place, they all went out two-stepping at the bar every night. And if you weren't there, people noticed. It's kind of like something that was really, truly part of the culture. And I can't say that I've experienced that sort of level of like engagement in any other place that I've ever been. So I mean, I know that Austin it does live up to the hype.
Bigger in Texas?
What's that?
Everything's bigger in Texas?
Everything's bigger in Texas, but no, definitely it was part of their culture. Like, all of their friends were there, and again, like I said before, it wasn't all musicians playing for other musicians. There were a lot of, people there, but it wasn't like you were saying, I can't go to your gig because I have a gig, because if that happens, then no one's at anyone's stuff. So we've got to get those people that aren't part of the community yet to engage with what's going on. So I said that 2 times, but sorry.
No, I think the diversity thing was an important thing that is a thing I complain about, that I don't have access to, or I ask and I can't get certain acts to come and play. It doesn't fit the schedule, whatever the circumstances. That's really important to me. I have mixed race kids, and I want them to see representations of themselves too. But one of the big things that one of the proudest, not one of the proudest, the last cultural experience my father experienced before passing away, like last year, was a show that my friend did about songs of the Underground Railroad. He's from Detroit, he moved to Windsor, he moved to Vancouver, became this icon, this beautiful person that was interested in he was always this brilliant guy. And he put this show together that toured Canada, and he didn't come to Windsor. And I'm like, dude, this is why you're doing the show. This city, and Detroit. So we worked it out. The Capitol gave us the rental. It was like, if we make money, you'll make money. And then so it's linked. I wish it was different and more diverse. And then I brought this show that was one of the richest experiences I've had. And it was hard to get people to go. And I'm screaming from the rooftops about how moving and how wildly important the show was. And people still it wasn't $50. It was it was $25. And then they came back and did it in the bar for 60 people, a matinee and a late show for $10 for Black History Month. And I think students would have been involved and wanted to go, and it becomes a promotion question. People think I'm good at it, but I feel like I failed that show, and I feel like I failed people who didn't get to see that show, and I don't know how I would have been able to better tell students, my regular clientele, about those things when I get them. Because they're not happening, and then you're like, well, it's happening now. I'm saying it. It's like, yeah, but you're not on my radar, dude. You don't do this all the time. So I don't know how to change that. That is a thing I want to see changed. Should change.
But sometimes if you're you're saying get them out, and so
for those special ones,
those special
when
ones.
I try to take a step out of my comfort zone, not necessarily, but for what I'm used to presenting and where I'm presenting it, it was at the Capitol, bigger stage. Those are risks.
Yeah.
And then, how did I thought I sold this harder than anything I've ever done before because I believed so heavily in the content, and it didn't do what I wanted it to do. So I don't know how to fix that.
Sometimes if you can draw just one person in that's not an artistic person, that's not a literary person, you can draw one person in and say, why don't you come to this? Well, I've never been to anything like that. I don't get that stuff. And so a couple of years ago, I brought somebody that has never been to a poetry reading, and some of the other people were saying, what the heck is he doing here? But you know what? He really liked it. And he's going to come to the reading next week. So, like Tom said, get somebody out of their comfort zone, bring them along. If they don't like it, it's not the end of the world, but they might like it. And then they might participate in more things. Film festival really draws people.
Yes, that's there's some safe events I dub as safe events. It's like, oh, but we gotta go downtown. It's like, oh, give me a break. But it's movies, and I know that person. That's a famous, okay, we'll go to that. And it's safe. And it's like, how do you piggyback that around in the neighborhood? Even right down in the neighborhood, something. Outside in the parking lot, something. I agree. Those are the types of events that draw people in who wouldn't normally. I think that's maybe a place to make inroads. Have someone do poetry on the stage before the film.
That might be something.
This person's got a new book
It's
out.
all the arts together, that way you get more exposure.
Well, someone said that. That's what makes people aware of the fact that what? There's opera? Yeah. Well, someone just did it. Someone just did it on the stage from here. They said it to 700 people at a movie. That would be good, actually. Yeah, they're good at what they present. I'm just saying that might
Vincent
be an
is
inroad.
so going to run with that when you tell him.
We'll open up to the audience now. If you guys have questions, you can just raise your hand and you can ask away. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think a lot of the things that you guys are saying are very relevant. Like, and also from what you just mentioned, I think like when you bring someone who's never been to like that sort of environment, to make them feel comfortable and not be like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Because like for me, for example, like I completely agree with everything you guys are saying. Because I'm not from the arts. I'm a biochemistry and psychology student and business student too. But anyway, I saw that that red little thing behind you, like outside of one of my bulletins, right outside of my class. And I was like, oh, that looks really interesting. And like my grandma was an artist, but I'm not really an artist, to be honest. And I was like, oh, let me come and check it out. And I'm really enjoying it. And it's like, it's really awesome to get to see like different perspectives. So I think getting people out of their comfort zones is really important. And like, I was thinking even maybe doing like an outreach, like having like an Instagram page or something. Like, you know, there's like Humans of New York, and they like outfit like all these humans. Like people at the university are doing that now. Like, I don't know if you're familiar, but there's like Humans of Odette, and it's like happening in Odette. So like maybe something like that, but not humans, but like something like that for like the art scene in Windsor, where you can have like representing every single different genre. I don't know, just like throwing that out there. But yeah, it's very. I think in Windsor the conversation has also been changing. Like people, compared to 4 or 5 years ago, especially like from my I was born and raised in Windsor my whole life. From my friends, I'm seeing like people are becoming more optimistic about Windsor, whereas like 5-6 years ago it was like, oh, there's nothing to do, and there will always be people like that. But I feel like in general the conversation has been changing, and just keeping that momentum going would be great. But yeah,
I like that you saw a poster. You got to. So did you have to ask to put this up?
I didn't even.
Because I can't put a poster up at school. And like
generally you have to ask. Yeah, that's right. As far as I know.
I have like lots of beefs about bylaws and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do in terms of postering or putting things up in certain like around the school. I can't tell people about a thing at the school because I'm not allowed to put things up in the school without this red tape, stamp it, like every time, no matter what it is. Yeah. There's not even a level of trust like, oh, right. You've done 50 of these. Let me see 51. I don't trust it. Okay, check the copy. Okay, stamp. Yeah, you can put these up. If there's an ability to promote, I mean, the internet's great. It's good, but the person to person is the best, I think. I don't know how you find promoting your stuff, but like person to person, obviously, and then being able to put posters up. You said you saw that poster. Like I can't put them up at the college. I can't put them up at the university.
And that's so unfortunate.
And 10 years ago, I couldn't put them up at other venues. Windsor's venue situation was terrible. There was not support. It was very cutthroat. It was cutthroat. People did
what you just said.
Oh, thank you. No, but it was.
Come to Mary Ann's event next week.
Yeah. It was not a friendly situation. So if I wanted to put a flyer up at another venue, oh yeah, go ahead. And then you'd see somebody who was at the cafe you were at an hour later, and they'd be like, "You tore it down right when you left." Like, what the heck? This was happening. People like to pretend that wasn't happening. That was happening. You know what? That never happens now. It's the exact opposite, except only among venues. There's so much respect among, and again, sorry, bars, but like Tallulah, these places, not a bar, a listening space, they are wonderful. Like people are so good about it now. So I feel like there's, again, the missing link for me would be the schools to be able to put stuff up there for students. Yeah. But is it appropriate? Is it like, I don't know.
Like I feel that would have made a huge difference for your Underground Railroad show, for example.
Sure.
So many kids on campus. Right? So many kids interested on campus and things like that.
Like even outreach to international students, like at Windsor, there's an international student center, and those are all students that come from outside and don't know anything about here. So I feel like even if you could just contact them or outreach with them in general, like the arts scene, that would be that could make a huge like exponential difference because there's so many of them. It's just growing and growing.
Have you guys ever put promo up in the school or had like CJAM's an inroad. The radio station is an inroad. So if you get them to like advocate for your stuff, that can be a thing. But like
you have to be like an official club. Like I used to be part of a pre-health society club, and I was like the communications officer. But even me as that position, I had to go, like you said, have every poster stamped, which bulletins I can put it at, certain ones I can, certain ones I can't. Like even as as an executive of a club, like it was ridiculous. So I completely feel you on that. It's
like what? Call this person. Oh my god! I just won't put posters up there. It's tough. It's frustrating because I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to run a business, but also like have success for the artist, whether it's a spoken word event or not. And it's like jumping through hoops shouldn't be Shouldn't be, like, red tape should not be a part of that. I don't know how to fix that.
Go ahead.
Just about the posters on the university, have you thought about having a student rep? Like if you contacted a student who liked coming to your shows and said, okay, I'll give you free cover for 2 or 3 shows this week if you do all the poster stuff because you're already going to the university. You do all the getting it stamped and getting it through stuff, and it's going to cost you is letting them have you free covers.
That might work. I don't know that I know students that are that passionate about.
We can find it.
That would do that work.
I will do it, literally.
That would do all the phone calls or the stamping, and it's a good idea.
That is really cool.
I think the personal touch is, literally going out and handing out postcards to people, and wherever you go in the city, you go to different venues, different shows, different activities. You bring those cards with you, and you advertise you advertise those events. You're gonna try and get people to come out to them. I agree with you. It's personal touch is so much more important.
Well, spoiler alert too. I'm partnering with somebody who's doing some printing. I used to have a magazine. It's not good, but I used to have a magazine before I opened the bar, and it had a listings. It was the hardest thing to compile, and so I was like, for 10 years, I'm like, what needs to exist? Not a magazine with listings, and ugly listings, physical printed, black and white, 8.5 by 11, folded in half, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. So I'm like partnering with someone to make that. I still need to find someone to do it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, listings is a big deal.
But like everybody,
Yeah.
the guy playing Brown Eyed Girl at Treehouse every Friday needs to be in that thing. Everything in there, you build it, and then you put it out. So the next step for me, as that physical thing that people can take for a month and go, I wonder what's happening. Facebook is useless. You have to hunt venue by venue. It's not helpful. Unless you're already like subscribed to my venue, but like to put this thing out for everybody, it's going to cost peanuts, and we're going to do it. Probably charge $50 for a full page for someone who, a band could afford that. Just put your poster of your show for $50, and it'll almost pay for the thing if we get 2 ads.
Yeah.
It's Josh from the Windsor Beer Exchange. He's been doing some printing, so he and I, it's like I'll split the cost. Like we'll put our promotion stuff in it and we'll put it out. But now it's going to be, where can we put it? Like who will accept this thing and let it be there?
Will you put the listings online as well?
Probably will.
Yeah.
I feel like whoever's doing that job would be responsible for updating real-time updating it.
Yeah, that's a major
job. And I don't know if I have
work.
resources for that.
Yeah.
But if it's physically printed, it's up to you to kind of check maybe the venue to double check if it's happening.
They would take them here at the bookstore, I'm sure. Even at the University of Windsor bookstore, they would have them next to the cash register.
Yeah, I'm just excited to get that thing out.
Yeah,
but then people would have to share it. Same thing. Bring that to the person who's
Wouldn't take long.
who's not excited or isn't motivated yet to show them how much, because there's so much on a given month. This city, it's outrageous how much there is. Essex County, forget it. It's like there's too much. There's too much, and people think there's nothing. Like,
Talk to me when you're looking
of
for
course,
a
that's what that connection needs to change. Again, things are wonderful, but there's so much room for so much improvement because of how much is happening. I always argue, like all these restaurants, local restaurants I go to, I look through it, I'm like, I know 6 out of 10 people in here. And then I go somewhere else for coffee. I know, 8 out of 20 in here. How's this small group supporting everything? Does anyone else, am I crazy? People like, it's a lot of familiar faces at all of the neighborhoods, at all of the galleries, all the art openings. They like cheese and crackers a lot. They know where to go to find this stuff. Like they go, but this small group is supporting this massive amount of really good stuff. I just want to see more people welcomed into that somehow.
You guys have other questions, anyone? If not, I can keep going. All right. So, how unique is it being on a border town? What does that do for the arts? You talked about bringing the Underground Railroad Act here. Does being on a border town help at all, or is it like, I know you mentioned Detroit kind of hurting some things, but What's it like being in a border town for an arts community?
I could add something. I don't know how that helps or hurts the theater, the school. I don't know how it helps or hurts readings.
How does it music industry?
Music, it's almost inconsequential. Okay. The only thing that changes is that the border now allows Americans to come to Canada without work visas to perform, get paid, and go home. So you hit the border and go, I'm gigging in Windsor, have a good show. If they don't have another reason to search you, they let you in. But Canadians, it's the exact opposite. So you need a work permit. I'd love to see it change. I'm not going to change American work visa policy. It's not going to happen. I don't even know how it changed in Windsor or in Canada. Someone's son in Sarnia or something, wanted to see a band come to Sarnia, and his dad was conservative when when Harper was in still right at the end, and it changed. I'm like, how did it just change? You don't need a work permit. So now I'm booking bands from Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago blues bands and jazz constantly, and it's amazing from an arts perspective. No one is coming from Detroit to Windsor to see shows. It's super rare. The only thing that makes that happen is blood and blood and extreme friendship. Family is the only that's not happening. I live in Detroit. I've got 4 major sports teams. I've got Fox Theater, I've got all these things. They're staying put. You'd have to make a hell of a case for a show for someone to come over. It's not happening. But I think it impacts the arts in terms of the creativity more than anything.
But it used to happen quite a bit.
They'd come here.
Yeah, because I remember when the...
I think that was for food, though. They were coming for our food.
Yeah, and they don't now, and I don't know if I don't even...
It was when the Top Hat was going.
Yeah. My friends don't know what their money's worth over there right now.
Yeah, I know.
They don't know the dollar's where it's at.
Right.
They're at an age that they never came here when it was crazy lopsided, so they don't go, oh, remember the good old... No, they don't do it. I meet people in Detroit and go, your money's worth $1.25 right now. Or more. Come over here.
No kidding.
And they're just like, oh, it is? Oh, I didn't know. I don't care. That's why I believe really firmly in that border town. It influences us creatively. Not me, because I'm not creative, but I see it. I see the influence. It doesn't increase attendance or anything for me.
You guys have anything to add to that?
No, I haven't noticed, certainly with poetry readings, we don't have people coming over, so.
I have something. In terms of, I guess, acting, one of my professors who does this thing called an Inspiring Acting Lab, and the students from Wayne State in Detroit, they come over, and we all work together and do this acting lab for about 3 hours on Sundays. So I think that's one connection that happens. Mm-hmm. And it's cool because tomorrow the Windsor students were going over there to their school and taking the acting lab there. So I think in terms of how Windsor affects being in the border town or border city, the theater world, it's nice to have Wayne State there just to branch out and explore and share what we're learning and have them take it with them and share, and they always bring more people back, which is really cool. So that's something, it's a small thing that I noticed, but it was really cool just to be able to branch out in that sense.
Who organizes that?
Lionel Walsh.
So Lionel, so the profs.
Yes.
And I feel professors have the anchors, people I was talking about who have more responsibility. Mm. Professors need to do that. I get so mad when they don't. It's make your students take their films from class and show them in public. You got to do that. That's the point. I don't know. Everyone completely disagrees with me, but profs doing that is important. So that's not student run. He's got a relationship, and so if he leaves.
Oh yeah, it's probably not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, he's getting close to
Because that sounds awesome.
It's really cool. Hopefully it continues to go on after. Yeah.
Now, in your guys' experience, what's the most unique thing about the arts here in Windsor?
About the arts here in Windsor is that someone who's just starting can really have a chance here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Really. that's my experience, certainly. I don't know if this would have happened in London. I don't know if it would have, like, I've made the connection with Black Box Press, with Marty Gervais. I was living in Windsor, in London before. And I'm not sure that that would have happened there because it's a whole different town in terms of the arts. But Windsor seems to be much more open to the beginning artist.
I agree.
And I think that's just fantastic. And that really has to continue and be promoted because for anyone who's starting out, they're hesitant because they don't know if they have any talent. But Windsor just seems to let that blossom. And yay, Windsor.
What like threads of art and culture have you seen that? Obviously writing for you.
Writing
have you seen another
for
ones?
me, but also the visual arts. The visual arts, like I have seen people that had just graduated from university in visual arts, and maybe they've displayed their arts at the Art Culture Center, and people come in and you can buy it. And I've done that. And so, well, this student just graduated, you know, but the art is beautiful. People come to my place and say, where did you get this piece? I said, well, that was just a graduating student from the University of Windsor, and her work is fantastic. So yay, Windsor, because you do give people a chance here.
Yeah, I think there's two sides to it, because especially like students and even theater, like why aren't theater students going, we got this wacky idea, we did this thing, we want to do it on your stage, we want to charge money. Never happens. In 14 years, never had a theater student do that, but I've had theater people do that on a lark. But like, I want to see more of that. People coming and saying, I want to do this, because for my walls at FOG, it's free. I don't take any money. If you put it on the wall and it says $200 and someone gives me $200, I put it in an envelope, I take it off the wall and they walk out. If you don't, they never come back for it. They will never, oh, it's $200? Yeah, you get it at the end of the show. That sale's not happening. Windsor's impulsive with art purchase, big time. So it's like, hand it over, okay, take this, bye. And I love that, but finding students, again, another like real emphasis on students, finding art students to do shows, forget it. I beg the profs, I beg students, please just book a show. Get 18, get 3 of your friends, 6 pieces a piece, and do a show. Put it up here, make some money. And it doesn't happen. So like, there's gotta be some reciprocation to the effort, because I know I'm not the only one. Again, when I speak for me, there's other places downtown, in particular, friends of mine run them. I'm very fond of them because they have the same mindset and they offer the same thing, and they just like, it's only established people who feel like they can do that. I have no way how to change that. Again, profs, just taking people in leadership roles saying, do it. Like, private, city, and commercial or entrepreneurial spaces, like those partnerships, everyone wants them to happen. Everybody, like, you gotta make
I have
them.
a program that lets people use this sculpture park with a free permit. So you go through the paperwork of doing a permit, but you don't have to pay for the permit because you're doing a cultural activity in the sculpture park. And we worked hard to get theater to come and do theater in the park. Every city does theater in the park. 0 takers.
But maybe it's just a lack of confidence.
Curious though, like, do they charge a ticket for people? Like, how do you do that?
You
Like,
can
do you
pass a hat. You can do whatever you want. It's your thing.
Okay, I didn't know that was a thing.
And sometimes it's about not knowing, but I knew about that. I could have done something, I didn't.
Because you know, when you're just getting your start out, like you were saying, you're not sure if you have any talent. Right. So like even for like me, I always sing at home, but I've never like, sang in front of anyone. So like, I can completely like understand like psychology wise like why people wouldn't, or like, you know, the students you were saying, I'm begging for people to come. Maybe it's just like an issue of like confidence, because like they're just getting started out, and I can see like from my perspective how, or my friends, like how intimidating and anxiety provoking that could be, like coming to just run a show and not having any experience or just starting out. I think just maybe some mentorship could help.
Outreach, yeah. So who introduced you to Marty?
Yeah.
Like someone had to make
Marty
that.
introduced himself to me. Again, talk about opportunity. We had the Freedom Festival here, and there was a poetry contest, And I wrote a poem for it, and I couldn't believe that I won first prize. I absolutely could not believe that. And then I was at the art gallery one day, and Marty Gervais came and said, you know, I saw your success, and I'm going to mentor 3 people this year, and I'd like you to be one of them. See, that was a moment of luck. Marty says you need some talent and you need some luck. And the two go together. And so that started the whole process. And 7 books later, here I am. But it was just that connection with that one poem. Thinking, should I really enter this into this poetry contest? Like, come on. But I did. And that's another thing. An artist who isn't really sure of themselves.
Self-doubt, yeah.
If there is an opportunity or a contest or something like that, do it. You've got nothing to lose and you've got everything to gain.
But you also wrote a poem that changed everything for you, which was, and you didn't want to write about.
Oh! Marty was mentoring me, and each week I brought a certain number of poems, and one week I brought a poem about the convent.
Oh yeah, I know
So
this one.
Marty says, so what's this about? I said, well, it's about, he said, so what about the convent? I said, well, I was in one. He said, what? She said, you got to write about it. And I said, I'm not going to write about it. That, I've erased it. I'm not going to write about it. So he kept after me and after me. And once I started writing about it, I couldn't stop. I would get up at 2 in the morning and write because all of the incidents kept coming back to me and the situations. And a convent, believe me, is a very controlled atmosphere, and they have some very strange ways of doing things and customs and things like that. And Marty stayed it up. So this is a book. I'm bringing the contract next week. Don't show it to anybody else. That was
Well, you're
amazing.
sitting next to a bar owner. Could you read Virgin in a bar?
Oh, Virgin.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a poem about, you know, people at that time, some girls entered the convents when they were 13 years old, and they left when they were 25 in the 70s, 80s. They had never had a date. They had never been to a dance. They had never handled money, and they had certainly never been in a bar.
My stepmom did this. My stepmother did this. She was. I'm gonna want to get this first.
Okay, so this actually happened to a friend of mine, and it's called Virgin in a Bar. A man in a bar can smell a convent virgin. Her hesitation in the slow curl of smoke, incense of nicotine. As she pushes against the varnished door, Luke smiles. Offerings of tequila and rye, a new savior who leans close. Keys to a kingdom only he can reveal. Vivian takes his hand, believes every word, chapter and verse. She called me at midnight and said, I'm in a bar and I've just met a really great guy and he wants to take me to Philadelphia tonight for a coffee. What do you think? I think you better call a cab and get over. So maybe it was your bar. I'm not sure.
I'll ask this one last question. It's sort of a gimme, and then we'll have all the students come up here so the audience can ask us questions. And it's why should, above all, why should people come and take in the arts in Windsor? Why do they matter so much, and why should people come see them?
That's a good question.
That's a loaded question.
I
In a
saved
good
it for
way.
last.
Well, I'm going to take a chance and answer first. I think that engaging with arts on any level has the power to really make a person discover things within themselves that they might not have thought about, learning about all kinds of different cultural things, all kinds of other people's stories, because really art in so many ways is telling a story, even if it's a visual art thing, if it's a music thing, if it's a theater thing. I think it does have the power to really change a person's perspective, and also because it really gives people a reason to engage in the community and get off of their couch and come out and engage with the other people in their space. So those are two reasons why I think people should engage with all kinds of art.
That was perfect.
That was beautiful.
I just made that up.
No, but the involvement, being a human being, you know. Because people will come into my place with their phones and do their phone thing, and I do my phone thing because there's people constantly asking questions online. Are you open? It's like I have to have it. People have it, but I don't have a TV that's on in my place. Yeah, there's a TV there, it's just off. Yeah, I don't know why it's there actually. We never use it. And we just don't have TVs on, and people tend to, you're being entertained or you're entertaining one another. And for me, in what I watch happen, friendships that occur, like, I know you mentioned it, but like that being a human being and being among other people and learning something else, like your Facebook feed, I don't care who's in here, it sucks. Your Facebook feed sucks. The stuff that's being put there, it's the algorithm, it's garbage. You got to get out and listen to some other people talk, even if you don't agree with them. It's just it makes life worth living. Like, get out.
Consciousness.
It makes life better. I got kids, so like I hear stuff that I would not think of. You get in a bubble even in my place. Like, oh yeah. Like I said, hard to reach out to people who aren't already a part of the scene. You can get in your bubble. I think the arts force you more so than other activities into out of your own bubble and into a learning place.
Yeah, I think it's just champagne for the spirit. I really
like
do.
that. I really like that.
It just is, and you just feel better when I see one of the university players' performances. I go, wow, am I ever glad I came out on a winter day to see this performance? And if I go to a poetry reading, if I go to a film, if I go to a performance, a music performance, I think, am I ever glad I came out? You know, this is great. And more people need to experience that. Because people are down, you know, there's a lot of people are down. And they don't, and so this would lift their spirits and give them something else to think about. To connect about.
A day like today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm staying. It's like, go out today. This is when you need it. Yeah, like not Third Rock from the Sun. What's the other bad science sitcom? Right?
Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, Big Bang Theory ain't fiction. This weather, like, if you are out even for an hour, I'm telling you, it makes I just feel rich. Like, I go to work when I'm not working all the time. I have a jazz trio tonight. I'm not advertising. I'm going there. Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to do. I'm gonna go do something banal at home. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna put money in the jar for them, and I'm gonna really enjoy myself and the people there. It's like, oh, it's raining. Yeah, I'm gonna stay. That's the first the day to go out.
But look at everybody here.
I love it.
They all came out today.
Netflix isn't going to part the clouds.
Spend like an hour looking for something. I'm tired. That experience was looking for something. Like garbage. Turn it off.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for being part of the panel.
Thank you.
Super interesting talking to all you guys. Super, super interesting. I've learned so much. And I'm going to go see a show at FOG. But before I leave Windsor this semester. I'm going to go see a show.
Or I'll recommend you. That's the other thing. You have to trust the people who, like, you'll send someone to someone else's reading, and that matters. I'll send you somewhere else if it's what we have isn't what you like.
I just want to know, the University Players is a fantastic drama. I went and saw a show last year. I can't for the life of me remember the name of it, but it was a fantastic experience. I was so blown away because prior to going to see that show, my only experience in drama was in high school, and I went and saw this play, and people that dedicated their lives to acting, and to see it up close and to see it in person was something that was pretty moving.
Why'd you go?
I was actually just for a project. I feel bad. It's a good question. I got to interview two of the performers after, and you learn so much just by going out. And that's what was so great about. We touched on the video, and that's what was so great about this entire semester. Is it did force you to go out and see things and talk to people that you didn't know. We had the chance to talk to Chrissy Cochran. I'm sure you know of her. She's a great Windsor recording artist, and she actually recommended that we reach out to you at. And you learn so much. That's how I found out about. That's how FOG sort of got because she mentioned that you guys won the award in 2009 or 2010 from the CBC. Yeah, just going out and experiencing the Windsor art scene for the first semester, really for the first time, I can say, and I'm kind of hooked a little bit.
Thanks, Marty.
It was fun. It was fun learning about
Matters.
this art scene. And thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
About this class and anything that they had to go through, or little specific things about making a radio show about the arts here in Windsor.
How many of you are from Windsor? Or living in Windsor? Like, yeah, you're from here, so just one?
I live off campus now, but I'm originally from the other side of the GTA.
Okay. So I guess my question would be like, did radio interest you enough by doing the show that you would try to go and do community radio in another city if you move back home or somewhere that has the ability to do that? I love radio.
Okay. So I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and I lived there like my entire life until I came here for uni. And when I was in high school, every time I was coming back from school and I was in the car, I was kind of forced to listen to the radio because my dad's driver loved to listen to it, and then I had to as well. And then as time went by, I started like falling in love with listening to the radio. There was a particular station that I really liked to tune into. But when I came here, it was like radio is dead here. It's not like it is back home. The radio back home is like very, it's vibrant, it's very interesting. You have this bunch of people, like what we did in this class, that particular radio station that I like to tune in, that was kind of what they did. They'd invite like artists in different fields, musicians, writers and things, to come talk about like what they do and things like that. And it was usually very interesting because they'd ask like all of this interesting topics and questions. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be like a journalist, because I'm in a co-major program, digital journalism and political science, and I chose this program because I want to go to law school, like after my first degree, but I chose journalism because of that. Like listening to the radio every day really like inspired me to be a journalist. But when I came here and decided to take journalism in school, I never even for once listened to the radio. And last summer I tried to volunteer at the CJAM and do like a radio show of my own, but when I talked to people about it, they were like, no one's gonna listen. And it's actually true, like nobody listens.
Can I just say something? I love campus community radio. It's been a big part of my life. I always also host a show on CJAM, but I started out volunteering as a volunteer host up in London at their station at Western, and for a year and a half I was actually the program director there. And in London. And so I was in charge of all the volunteers and everything. And volunteers would come to me and they're setting up their shows, and I said, I always said to them, there's at least one person listening to CHRW 24 hours a day. So it doesn't matter, you can't not give it your 100% for that one person who must be tuning in. So there's definitely people who are very dedicated listeners to CJAM here in Windsor and Detroit. So,
a lot in Detroit.
Yeah, yeah.
You might not, yeah.
Do you know if they got the recent funding increase, the vote?
They did not get their funding increase, so they're going to probably try again sometime. So if you are students, hopefully, we'll get that vote happening soon. Sorry, but I just thought I would just say there is at least one person listening to CJAM right now. So, and they're going to care about what you have to say or what music you'd like to share with them.
Well, I guess I can try again.
Yes, you should try again.
I think this class has been integral in almost getting. I came into this class and I heard we're going to be doing a radio show about an art scene that I knew nothing about, didn't care much for, and I thought this is going to be an awful semester. I was not looking forward to it. The class that we worked on, it fell in the middle of a 7.5 hour day for me. But I came out of it with a real love for being on the radio. I was lucky enough. We did a role twice, just because of the way the scheduling worked out. We couldn't do one thing once, and I got to host twice. And it gave me a love for being on radio. And I learned very quickly that once you start covering something and once you start talking to people, it's very easy to care because it's interesting. Once you start talking to people, they're always going to be interesting people. So I would say this class has not only opened me up to the idea of being on radio, it's almost made that a goal.
Yeah. Did you guys seem like you said you were fish out of water doing the radio thing, but you seem to be pretty fond of it. But would you actually, seek it out after you're done?
Definitely.
I don't think I would. Because no, it's not because I didn't like it. I actually really loved being on radio, but I would rather prefer being on TV.
Anyone else?
Radio, not so much, but I have been working with podcasting, which is like the future of radio, which is nice. I think, the show definitely increased my desire to become a host for a podcast show or a radio show in the future. Yeah, for sure.
I definitely wouldn't want to be the host of a show, but I definitely want to do the background stuff, just because, like, going into this, I had no idea about Windsor's art scene. Like, I'm from Windsor, had no idea. But it did open my eyes to something that I should already know about. So I wouldn't want to host it because I didn't like being on the actual show itself, but to do the background stuff and still have access to all these people and everything, I would do that.
Cool. Anybody have any other questions? Sorry, did you?
Yeah. So is the Heart of Windsor going to be continued after this month? Because I know you might be leaving after the semester ends. Is there a way that it's going to continue?
We know Marty is interested in keeping it very much alive.
Yeah.
So
they're hoping to keep it going next year, for sure.
So it runs how many weeks? How many episodes?
Yeah. We ran 5 episodes. Yeah. This year. And our last episode, Marty. Our last episode airs Monday at 12:30. If you guys want to listen.
In the afternoon.
Yeah, 12:30 p.m. afternoon. We're talking to Tom again, so if you want to hear more of him.
You heard it all today.
And it's still an interesting interview. You can listen to Tom talk for a while. He's an interesting guy. And we're also interviewing poet Denny Robillard. He wrote. I think he worked with Marianne. He wrote. Ask the River, and I believe it's on the.
You have cards?
Yeah, it's on the cards. Yeah. So if you guys want to hear about the book and maybe even go to the launch, you can find out more about it on our radio show on Monday. And I'm hosting, so like please.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you tell us about your most memorable experience with this show?
I would say, I'm trying to decide between 2, because I want to say hosting my first show was, but at the same time interviewing Chrissy Cochran was a really cool experience because I got a lot of confidence in my interviewing skills soon thereafter. I never really thought, I was always scared of asking questions. Not sure if they were good questions. I remember one time I was sitting in a press conference with like an NCAA Division I coach, like 10 feet in front of me, trying to break into sports journalism, and I had a great question, and I didn't ask it because I was scared, and the question that ended up getting asked in this place wasn't even one he could answer because of rules. So I would say interviewing Chrissy Cochran was probably the most memorable experience because it did the most for me in terms of my confidence in going forward.
I interviewed Drew Dilkins, which I was the first person to do an interview, and getting the interview, that was hard. It got rescheduled. We ended up doing it a day after. I made the mistake of sending him all my questions, so he was prepped for he had an answer ready even before I could answer the question, like ask the question. That was fun. He was really tall too, like he was I'm 5'1", so like that was something, but he's like 6'2", I think. He's real tall. I was not ready for that. But it was, I definitely think like I learned the most from that interview and like how to conduct and like what questions to send and what to like surprise him with, you know? So yeah, that's my most memorable.
My most memorable moment would be when I actually hosted. It was just so far out of my comfort zone. Like, even writing the script, I had no idea what I was doing. So when I finally had it done and everything, I felt really good about myself, and it just really built up my confidence, like Chris was saying. And yeah.
Mine was interviewing Barry Birdie. So it was my first time interviewing, and I prepared my questions. But then when I sent it to Ari and Taylor, I think they tweaked it a little bit. So they made corrections. And then it was a good thing that I did it on Google Docs. So I went back to the history and I just checked like the corrections they made. And then I saw the difference. And I think that helped me prepare my interview with Tom and Denny Robillard. Yeah, and then the second, I'm so sorry. The second memorable thing I took out of this class was interviewing Tom, because then I got to go to the Fog Lounge for the first time. That was exciting.
Oh yeah, thrilling. During the day.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, what was the biggest challenge you guys faced during that semester?
I hate doing B-roll.
What?
B-roll. It's the shots that go over an interview just so you don't have to stare at someone's face the whole time. So definitely going and getting B-roll. I don't think I did a good enough job. So that was like the biggest challenge in terms of just technical. But there's a huge challenge, I think, especially with like kids that are getting into journalism. It's very, very hard to sit there and reach out for interviews. You feel like you're a burden. You feel like they don't want to do it. And especially if they don't get back to you very quick, you feel like you're just wasting your time. So I would say the most challenging thing probably was being persistent in getting an interview, and not telling yourself that nobody wants to talk to you. Yeah, exactly. So I would say that was the most challenging.
Thinking of a question post-interview, or thinking of something you could have said that would have led to a different answer or another response or something that would have, added to the interview. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wish I would have said that.
Again, when I interviewed the mayor, he mentioned that they were building a statue. I was like, what new art is coming to Windsor? And he's like, we're building a statue in a roundabout in Sandwich Town. And I don't know if I was intimidated, or at the time I was kind of like, that's more of a monument, not really art, but didn't say it. And afterwards I was like, and Marty was like, you should have said that.
Why are you shooting video for a radio show?
We did that because we had a website. So it just helps to have more forms of media.
I think it's great.
It was fun. We had a lot of trouble because the interviewees would show up and they'd be like, "Oh, there's a camera."
I know. Yeah, you guys didn't do a very good job of telling us.
She had a dress on.
But it was. I think it was more just to have that. So you have more journalistic duties to do. Like I said, I hate doing B-roll, so the fact that I had to go out and do it was probably pretty useful to me, even though I hated every second of it. And we wouldn't have done that if there wasn't a video component to this class.
I think one of the criteria of the class was to learn every single element of telling a story. So there's a visual, there's the audio, there's the written part, there's the social media. There's a lot of different things that help put a story, complete a story. So I think if we focused on one. If we just did a written story, it would have been, it wasn't enough just to focus on one way to cover a story. If that makes any sense.
My next? My most challenging part of the course was making videos as well. Because I've been in and out of journalism, so I didn't really get the basics yet, because there's some courses I didn't take that I was supposed to for this one. So I didn't know how to edit a video or do B-roll and all of that stuff. But this class really helped me learn that, because this was my first stop to learning how to put together a video, which includes B-roll and all of that one. I was the first person to make a video, so I didn't even know I had to do B-roll or voiceover or anything like that. So I just I I went to meet Ari and Taylor, and they showed me how to like edit video. So I did that, and I turned it in, and they're like, oh, there's no B-roll, there's no voiceover, and it was a very hectic week for me. So I had to like do it all over again. But it was fun, and now I feel like I'm very confident when it comes to like editing videos, and I know I can do it now anytime. So it's good.
My biggest challenge would just be staying on top of everything. Like, you have something new to do every week, and if you don't do it, then someone else won't be able to do their job. Like, doing the interviews themselves is probably like the biggest things you have to stay on top of, because you have to get them to come in, you have to have the questions ready, and if you can't do that, then no one can make a video, they can't write the story on it. It all comes down to you. So yeah, it's just getting your job done on time.
Are in school for this. You're making media, you are aware of podcasts, print, television, radio. So what's missing from other outlets with regard to exposing people to arts journalism? I mean, my opinion is it's fallen off of the radar because so have the employees. There's like 3 for a newspaper. Like, there's nobody there. You message them to do a story, and it's really difficult. So that's part of that outreach of notifying people about things. But I don't know, beyond actual coverage, is there anything that you like about what's, I would say, not to be negative, is there anything you really like that's being done in favor of the arts, or that's you think isn't enough from mainstream or other sources?
Can I go first? Okay. So when it comes to TV journalism, like reporting and stuff like that, I don't really follow it because I live on res. I don't have a TV and all that. So, but I would say that it would be a lot better, and it will draw a lot more audience if they could, like, apart from airing the show or whatever it is on TV, they should also put it on YouTube. YouTube is very big now, and where I'm from, like back home, whenever there's a TV show about something, there's a new show that comes up about anything from the arts to cooking to anything, they always also put it on YouTube. So it airs on TV and it airs on YouTube as well. But I don't think they do that here. I think it's just on TV and that's it. And sometimes, like, if you forget to record the show on your cable, or I don't know how it works there, but if you forget to do it, then you miss the show and that's it. But if it's on YouTube, you can always go back to it, and new people can always watch it, like, every single time. So I think that's missing, and that would be like a very big aspect of like TV journalism. And if someone were to like start a show on the arts in Windsor, and actually, and like a TV outlet, a news outlet backs it up, and then they also put it on YouTube, it would be very big, and it would do like a lot better than just, you know, on TV.
I would say that it should be the job of the local news sources to cover the local art scene. But specifically, I would like to see, and I don't want to like point fingers. I don't know if there's anybody from, the Lance here, but their student journal, their student news organization. I feel like you shouldn't have an issue of getting people to come do things, especially like your bar is cheap by all standards. It should not be hard. I love that to get.
Wow, cheap by all standards.
You can go see a show for $5. You can't do that anywhere else.
Right.
It shouldn't be hard to get students to come do something cheap, but I don't see enough. I guess I don't see enough coverage from the Lance. I don't really know.
But I think that's because like the Lance is mandated to like cover the university stuff, aren't they?
Well, no, they changed their mandate like just recently to only cover campus stuff.
Okay,
I reached out to them to cover some shows, and they said we can't.
I feel
they've
like
changed our focus. So now it's harder. Like I said, you can't put posters up, and now they don't cover anything that's not happening.
Ridiculous. So
I know, like, I agree. Like,
I'm sorry. I don't care
how
how hyper local you claim to be. You can't concentrate your news source to like a city blog, which is what campus is really. I think I really, and again, I hope no one's here. Like I'm probably like killing my chances of getting robbed right now. So maybe, but like I feel like their mandate should be informing students of what's around more than anything. If you're a student publication, tell the students what they can do. I mean, Windsor does an okay. They have the calendar. you can check. I know that's how we did like our arts calendar on the show, but like it's like no one who knows about Windsor, right? I don't think any students know about it. So I'd like to see the Lance or like some sort of. I really like to see the Lance, a student publication, take the lead in promoting the arts, because I feel like that's a campus's job. Maybe it's an academic institution, yeah, but I feel like the second duty of a university is also to promote culture, and that's arts. And I just don't think the
That made me
Lance.
want to clap. That made me want to clap. That's true.
I just don't think they do a good enough job of getting the news out there. I don't see anything from them, and I'm not a super avid consumer of local news. I keep my eye out for it, and I haven't seen anything, to be quite honest. So, yeah, I think there just needs to be a mandate change based on what you said there.
Good. Okay. So thank you, students, so much. And so we just wanted to thank everybody for coming. It was a very lovely evening. We wanted to give special thanks to CJAM 99.1 for hosting our show. We'd like to thank Biblioasis for hosting this event, Marty Gervais for being such a great professor, and the UWindsor Digital Journalism Program and FAHSS for their support. We want to thank all of our panelists for coming out and doing a great job up here. And I know Chris already kind of plugged the show, but our last show is 12:30 on Monday, so check it out, 99.1 FM. And if you miss it, we always post it to our website later that day, along with the corresponding video and articles. So you can check that out as well.
What's the website?
It's heartofwindsorontario.wordpress.com.
And do you have your archive shows on your website as well, so I can go back in time and listen to
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So we hope everybody enjoyed themselves tonight. Have a safe drive, and before you go, we have some food and some refreshments, and you can have lovely conversation. And yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you.